I'm helping Miss Camille out today. I don't know if you all know this, but Miss Camille works taking care of people at a senior living facility. And with COVID-19, half of their staff at that facility has resigned. And Camille is only one of two people left to take care of people every night, all week long. And she is so tired. And we love her, and we are going to pray for her in a little bit. But I wanted to ask some of our youth and young adults out there if you would help us with our Sunday school and children's conversations this fall. Camille needs our help, and we already have the lesson plans. We just need some people to record them and to tell the stories. So if you can help out with that, please let me know this week. You can send me an email or you can let me know on the chat on Sunday morning too. Today, we're talking about a time when Israel's family had been living, this is a long time ago, they were living in Egypt for a long time. And along the way, the people who called themselves Egyptians, because their families had been there longer, they decided that the Israelites just were not as good. They were a lower caste. And so they decided to make them slaves, to own them like they were farm animals, and you could force them to do whatever they said. They would whip the Israelite slaves, and they would kill them, and they would spit on them, and they would do whatever they wanted, and it was evil, and it was wrong. And the Egyptians kept doing it year after year, and God was not pleased. So God spoke to Moses and told him that his job was to get those slaves free. And Moses, who had been a prince and he knew the royal family, he came to Pharaoh and he demanded that the slaves be freed. Pharaoh was not impressed. He said, No, I'm not freeing all these slaves. In fact, I'm going to make them work even harder and whip them more. So God caused 10 plagues that Moses warned Pharaoh about. Now, here is a question that I asked some of our older tweens last month, and I'm going to ask you. Now, this is a super hard question that you need to research with your parents. Each plague that God sent against Egypt was specifically meant to single out one of the gods from Egypt's mythology. So, the insects, they match up with a certain god, and the frogs with another. And the plagues make much more sense when you know all this. And if you can find an answer, you can even find some of these answers about which plague matches which Egyptian god, I will treat you to ice cream or lunch or something if you can figure this out. And people in my Thursday study group, you've studied this. Anyway, even after the horrible events of the first 9 plagues, Pharaoh still would not free the slaves. And the last plague was horrible. God told the Israelites to be ready to run to freedom. And on one night, every household killed a lamb, and they marked the door of their home with the blood. And they cooked the lamb, and they had some bread and some wine, and they waited, because in a few hours they would be free. But the last plague would kill many Egyptians. And it was horrible, so horrible, that Pharaoh told Moses to take all the slaves and just leave. And for the slaves, for the first time in their lives, they were free. They could go and do what they wanted. They could talk to and they could marry whomever they wanted. They could go to school. They were free. And for thousands of years, we've remembered that night with a celebration. We call it Passover because God passed over the houses that had that blood on the door. And for Jesus, it was Passover. It was that was the dinner where he celebrated and he ate his last supper with his disciples. And each month in our church community, we remember it when we take communion. Passover. Communion is a celebration of freedom and hope. Will you pray? Will you pray with me? Let's do pretzel prayer. I always like that one. God, you want all people to be free, to live without fear, to be able to live our lives fully. The evil and hate of Pharaoh could not stand. Help us celebrate our freedom and our responsibility to be sure that all people can know the freedom and hope that you want for us. Right now, Camille needs a little sense of that freedom and hope, and as people who love her, we ask and act in ways to help her. Hear our prayer today. Amen. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful week.